lady is all that I know. She's over me. She's over me. She comes with her hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, welcome to the Paranormal Portal. This is our Night Terrors. Welcome, everybody. Hope you're doing great. We are on the countdown to Madeleine Falls, and it's really exciting. First and foremost. Ooh, what's that? I got to make sure that's all the way plugged in there. It gets a little crabby when it's not. I don't know why it's kind of working its way out, but anyway. We're going to be in Madeleine Falls this weekend. Again, there's a Bigfoot festival going on in Madeleine Falls, Washington State. I know people are coming from all over to be at this event. It's going to be absolutely epic. Again, it's probably one of the last times anyone will have the opportunity to see Mr. Bob Gimlin talk and meet him and be a part of that footprint in our history. I mean, Bob is, of course, the godfather of the Bigfoot movement. He and Roger Patterson recorded the Patterson-Gimlin footage. And that was in Bluff Creek, California. And 1967, I think, is if I'm remembering right. And what an epic piece of footage that still stands the test of time today. Many people have tried to debunk it, and I believe wholeheartedly, very, very unsuccessfully. I think that the body proportions just don't match up to a person. Even with arm extensions and stuff like that, you can't make the elbow bend lower than it does or higher. You know, it's not going to extend with the longer arm. So there's so much about it that doesn't work physiologically for the human body. Once you start comparing it, I know Thinker Thunker's done a breakdown of it. I know Bill Munn's the creature creator for Hollywood, who was basically doing the Planet of the Apes stuff at that time, looked at it and said, no, this is not a human being. It wasn't possible back then. And so take it or leave it. But yeah, there you go. Android says, Bob said this will be his last events. No, it's not that. But I know Bob is no longer going to travel outside of Washington State to do any kind of talks. It's just, I mean, he's been alive for, getting close to a century. And the man has been a machine his whole adult life, and in going around and meeting people and talking about this. And it's really going to be one of the last opportunities anybody's going to have, I'm sure, because quite frankly, Bob's not he's not a teenager. He's getting up there, and I don't know how many events he has scheduled this year, but I'm sure there's it's probably a handful. Anyway, and that's who knows, next year. I mean, tomorrow anything could have happened, of course, but God watch over the man. He's just an incredible person, and I think he's one of those people that if you have an opportunity to see him, to meet him, to at least watch him speak, and to see what he has to say from his own mouth firsthand, I think that's an excellent thing. And of course, you can do that through watching interviews and stuff that he's done or listening to them. But, I'm just saying, it's one of those events that I think this is going to be great. So this sorry internet takes forever just to say howdy back. Ruger's having trouble. Ruger, great time we had together. I just talked to Ruger the other day. We recorded a podcast together, so keep watching for that in the next coming weeks. There's several podcasts to come, but Ruger and I just recorded the other day. It was a great talk, and it's going to be a great podcast when that comes out. But not only that, there's so much going on. Now, here's the beauty of this event, and it's something I've mentioned on the show several times, but I just feel like I just want to give you guys every opportunity to be a part of it any way you can be. And one of the ways that you can do that is by becoming purchasing the live stream. They're going to live stream the speaking engagements, and I'm going to put the link again in the chat for anybody that wants to take advantage of that. Because if you can't make it, if you can't make the journey, and for some of you it's going to be impossible. We have listeners all around the world, but if you can't make the event, at least you could still see all of these amazing talks and what people are, what these speakers have to say. And there's a whole bucket full of them. And I will just go through the list here in a second after I get this posted. There it is. Didn't I post? Did it post? Yeah, there it is. Okay. So the link is posted in chat. That is the link to purchase the live streaming of the event, of the speakers, of all their talks. And it's over 2 days. So you're getting 2 days full of speakers. Now, who's there? Well, Adam Davies is going to be emceeing the event. The presenters are Ken Gerhard, we are going to have Ken as a guest on an upcoming podcast whenever we can work out the schedules. But he's just a super, super nice guy, and one of the most pleasant people you'll ever meet. And he really knows his stuff. He's a cryptozoologist. He's a TV personality, had his own show on one of the Discovery networks. And he's an author, written at least 2 books that I know of. And one of them is The Essential Guide to Bigfoot. Let me get it. It's right over here. Right over here. The Essential Guide to Bigfoot and The Essential Guide to the Loch Ness Monster and Other Aquatic Cryptids. So, it's just a great guy. And I did listen to him on his interview when he was on Bigfoot Today. I was in the studio there watching that happen, and it was a great discussion. I mean, Ken's one of those guys you can talk to all day and all night and never run out of things to talk about. So Ken's going to be great. Larry Beans Baxter is another one that's part of the Extreme Expeditions Northwest LLC group, but he's written a book about Bigfoot and his experiences up in Alaska. And I don't know the title of it. I apologize. I'll have to look for it and post it on our Facebook page. Kevin Lyellen, I'm not sure. I don't recognize that name. Dr. Robert Alley is an amazing speaker. He's a doctor, but as the name suggests, but he's also an avid Bigfoot researcher, and he's been using a very scientific approach to it. And he does work with the Extreme Expeditions Northwest LLC crew as well, and they've done some really cool things. And he's been a part of some of the documentaries that they've made as well. So he's a really compelling speaker. He is from Alaska as well, and talks a lot about First Nations sources that he's talked to and gone to for advice and such. Just some great stuff. J.C. Williams, Dr. Igor Burtsev from Russia, Russell Accord, who is, of course, from Expedition Bigfoot, Shane Corson, who's a researcher as well, and Tom Seawood, who's been a really cool guest on Sasquatch Chronicles. I listened to him a couple of times. He's had a lot of incredible firsthand experiences with Bigfoot. He's a really good speaker, and he does tours. I think it's called Hamumu Tours or something like that, off of BC or somewhere in that area. And just a really, really interesting guy. And, of course, Bob Gimlin. So if you can make the event, if you can't make it in person, at least an option is to catch that streams, because, again, I think it's really, for me, it's an event of a lifetime. I'm really thrilled to be going to be there and be a part of it. But I hope as many of you can take advantage of it in whatever way possible. So I'm just putting it out there. I just wanted to make a big announcement about that. Of course, all of my attention right now is getting ready to go there. So I've been trying to do a million things around here, getting ready to go. But I didn't want to take away your show tonight. So here we are. And tonight on the Night Terrors, we're going to talk about UFO encounters. And we got a couple of really cool articles to go through. So I hope you're ready, because it's time for bed. Boom. I got to unmute myself. All right, guys, we are back at it here and underway. The phone lines are open if you want to call in. If you got any questions about the event, I'll do my best to answer them. But other than that, if you got some paranormal or UFO kind of experience you want to talk about, seeing something in the sky, some weird things you witnessed, by all means, call in 720-923-0500. Again, 720-923-0500. 0500. And that is the numbers for fun right here on the Paranormal Portal. And I'll do my best to watch that Paranormal Portal. I wish I could go maybe next year, but I discovered there's also a Bigfoot event in Virginia, June 26th through 27th, where we are likely going to over 210 plus confirmed attendees and some great presenters. Well, that's great. I think that's phenomenal. Here's the thing. I think these events are phenomenal opportunities to get to know people in your local communities. If you go to these events when they're in your area, you can meet some of the people that are out in your neck of the woods, whether just as, happenstance, or if they are a local presenter that's talking about research they've done in the area. And then, of course, every event draws in keynote speakers from somewhere. So you get a chance to listen to some great stuff. Is that a beret? Well, no, it's, I don't know if it's a beret or not. What is it? Kind of a beret. It's just it's my Kangol. I guess it's kind of a beret. It's got the lid in the back, I mean, some people wear them front ways, but I don't seem to be able to pull that off as well. I don't like that as well. I like this better. So we're discussing my fashion choices. I love it. Dave Spinks and Frank J. Bennett will be speakers at the Virginia event, and some others. Very cool. Yeah, I think get out to these events whenever you can, folks, because again, it's a great place to network, to get involved. You might become aware of local groups in your area that you didn't know about that you could possibly become involved with, get involved with their research efforts, help out, and get out there and see what you can find. I mean, honestly, any of this paranormal stuff, whether it's ghosts, UFOs, Bigfoot, cryptids, dogman, whatever, any real discoveries outside of maybe UFOs, because, we're moving towards closer and closer to an official disclosure, which means it's on the map. At least officially it's on the map anyway, but by the, admission of several governments around the world that have already disclosed what they know. But the Pentagon saying, yeah, those videos are real. I mean, that is a disclosure. That's an official disclosure of sorts. So, I mean, it's no longer a discussion of, are these things real, or do these people just wear tinfoil hats? I mean, obviously the acknowledgement is there's things in our skies that we don't know what the hell they are. Now, it's not an acknowledgement that we're being visited by outer space aliens, but it's at least an acknowledgement that that stuff is real. But any of the other stuff, I think, is going to be, they're going to be proven and put on the map by people like you and I. We're the ones that are gonna substantiate Bigfoot. I'm really convinced of that, and it'll probably be the next Patterson-Gimlin film will probably be a dash camera on somebody's car that's going to catch one going across the street right in front of them, and it's going to be like, whoa, this is the new higher definition version of this, and it could very well go a long way in substantiating that it is a very real phenomena for the population at large. I mean, I don't believe any of you out there probably need a lot of convincing, but I think that, the rest of the population that's really not on board with this is going to need something. And so it's going to take a really high quality video of something crossing or something traversing a terrain where it's visible to show scale and how big it is versus, the vehicle and stuff like that. And, if it's an 8 or 9 foot something crossing in front of your car, it's no longer in the human range because people just don't get that big except for Robert Wadlow or Waldo or whatever his name was. He was like 9 foot something, or 8 foot, almost 9 feet tall. But he had a hard time walking. He had a hard time doing anything. He's not going to be out there running through the woods or somebody at his size. Because when human beings grow that big, we don't do real well. Our bodies don't handle that extraordinary strain of hyper growth very well. There's always joint problems and even anatomical issues from having so much strain on the body that was probably never meant to grow so big, so it's going to be people like you and I that are going to substantiate this. And the same thing for spirit stuff. Ghosts are probably going to be substantiated by some research team somewhere that is able to compile enough evidence or a combination of teams compiling enough evidence that it can't be ignored anymore. And I think that's really the takeaway. Android says, I think once UFOs and aliens are officially verified, it will make the science community and public take all paranormal activity more seriously. Well, there's some merit to that, I think, because here's the thing. Once there is an acknowledgement of one, it really bolsters the possibility for the others as well. In science, we're always turning up new discoveries. There's new things being discovered all the time. And this includes even some sizable, primates and stuff that have been discovered in the last 50 years. I mean, that was thought to be a fantasy. But sure enough, things like the bonobo and there's a new orangutan species just discovered in Indonesia not too long ago that they didn't know was there. And so it's coming. I think that, there's a lot more to discover. And I think, here's the thing, the hubris of the science and the scientific community is what hinders a lot of discovery. It's because they're pretty sure they're right. And they're pretty sure that they got it all figured out, with the exception of, a few things like a unified field theory and stuff like that. They don't claim to have that all sorted out, but they claim that they have the nature and the fauna stuff all sorted for the most part. So, when those new things come out, it's great. And certainly UFOs being officially substantiated will at least give those other possibilities more credence. I think that's a good take on that. Yeah. I don't disagree with that. I think you're probably right on it. Brent, I have mixed feelings about Bigfoot being exposed. Not sure I trust the greater population with them. Maybe just paranoid. No, I'm with you. Absolutely. I'm absolutely terrified for the day that Bigfoot is beyond a doubt proven to exist, because we're going to see. Well, here's the thing. Either they're going to try to capture some to put them in zoos somewhere so everybody can come gawk at them, and throw popcorn to them, or more people are going to be going out into the places where they live. And one of two things is going to happen. It's going to push them into such a high stress state that they're not going to be able to survive. They're just going to finally die out, because I don't know how many are out there. And it seems like there's a lot, but I think that's questionable. It's questionable to know how many are out there, but they choose our absence for the most part. I mean, sure, they walk in front of cars and do stupid things like that for some reason, but for the most part, they choose our absence. So if we get throngs of people heading out, like, in the 70s, people going to Yellowstone, it was just this throngs of people that would go and, really brutalize those natural resources. And if that's going on a national and global scale, it's going to it's going to cause problems. The other thing that it could do is create a very aggressive species out of the Sasquatch, so that they will throw rocks and everything right at us, not just here, get out of my area kind of threatening stuff. Like, they could become absolutely aggressive towards people just by that constant pressure on their survival. I don't know for sure, but those are my thoughts on it. Here's the problem with people. We tend to destroy what we love. And everybody wants to see something they've never seen before, but the impact that could have on these species, it could be devastating. So that's my trepidation as well. I don't know that it'll be a great thing. I mean, in some ways it'll be great because there's a lot of people, myself included, who very firmly believe these things are out there, and it would be vindication. But is that more important than the survival of this, what could be very fragile species? And very fragile, not in natural sense, because they've survived and thrived in some of the harshest environments on the face of the world, but fragile in that our continued encroachment and pressure upon them could cause them to be unable to sustain themselves. So just some thoughts. Doctoral studies tend to be laser focused, and you sometimes find people with huge expertise in a very narrow band, but often lesser ability to be nimble and flexible intellectually in other fields. I think that's probably true, Paul. Very good point. Yes, exactly, Brent. Perhaps they will teach us something about human arrogance. Who knows? Yeah. Well, there's no question there's human arrogance. We're pretty sure that whatever we want to do, if there's not another person blocking us from doing it, we can do it. You know, it's like, I'm going to cut down all those trees right there. Why? Because I like to have a better view. It's just heartbreaking. It's just heartbreaking, the disdain that people have for the natural balance of things and how we refuse as a civilization to stay in balance with it. Brent, maybe if you get a chance, could you ask some of the pioneers how they feel about Bigfoot being exposed to the general public? Yeah. Well, part of what we're going to do when we're there is to do some man on the street kind of interviews with attendees. I'm planning on walking around and talking to people and, just getting a whole bunch of clips and things of talking with people that are there. I want to see what they've experienced, if they've got experiences. I want to see what they think about the phenomena. I want to, hear what their story is, what brings them there, and that's going to be part of what we're going to do throughout the community of Madeleine Falls, because the whole town is getting in on this. So yeah, that'll be definitely something we'll do for sure. But great idea for sure. Anything else before we move on? Any other questions? Hi, Miracles. Hey, and they say, good to see you. Who's here, by the way? We should probably see who's actually here talking right now. I've got Absolute Death. How you doing? That's a new name. Absolute Death as opposed to Partial Death. Or Android Purity's here. Asset is here. Asset Ramses. Cannabis Resolution, Naysay, is here. Dan Dawson's here. How you doing, Dan? How you doing, everybody? Digger Dog is here. Egyptian Princess is here. Eliza. Ethan is here. Ghost Magnet. Happy Girl's here. Lunatic Fringe. Maggie M. 10. Paul Holland is here. Rachel Gets It Right. Ruger Ridge. Slowpoke. Titan. Weapon X5. How you doing, Weapon X5? That's a new name. Great to see the new names. I love seeing the new names. Lucifer's in here. How you doing, Lucifer? Hi, good to see you, brother. Thanks for all the comments on the YouTube videos over the ages. It's awesome to get those, and it's awesome to talk with you. Steve Nunez just came in. Just saw that one pop up. Ruger Ridge, of course, is here. I don't know if I said that before. Ivan Freener is here. How you doing, Ivan? Good to see you. Thanks for coming in. And if I missed anybody, I apologize. I think I got everybody, though. Titan's here, of course. Been talking with him. Mean Green Meme Machine. God, that's a tongue twister. Mean Green Meme Machine. All right. Great to see you. Thanks for coming in. I love these new names. That's awesome. That gives me hope that the channel is still growing. Hi, Eliza. Good to see you. In case I didn't say it before, someone else just popped up. I don't know. Oh, Larry and Shirley Bell. Good to see you, Larry and Shirley Bell. Thanks for coming in. All right. We are expanding and growing as we go. Oh, somebody else just popped up. Alicia Hughes. Hi, Alicia. Welcome to the show. And if I missed you, I'm sorry. I said hello to everybody I could see on the list, but I have a feeling I could sit on that list all night and see names popping up and going away. So it's the nature of the beast. Yes, it's me, Titan. There you go. All right, so we're going to talk about some UFO stuff. First of all, I wanted to, and thanks for humoring me talking about the Madeleine Falls event. It's kind of where my head's at, thinking about Bigfoot, and I should have done a Bigfoot show just because it would have made more sense on the eve before going to Madeleine Falls. But, since I couldn't do that, or since I didn't do that, we still did a lot of talking about Bigfoot. So that's okay. There's always room for talking about Bigfoot. All right. Hey, Anubis, how you doing? Hey. He just came for a visit. Let's see what I got here. I got an article that out of a site I just found, and I don't claim to know all of the sites online for great material and stuff, but this is definitely a great site. I just stumbled on it tonight as I was wandering through some stuff for the shows, and the site is ufoinsight.com, ufoinsight.com. And I was just browsing through their articles and stuff. It's like, man, they've got a lot of stuff. They've got a lot of amazing stuff. And on here was an article that I think is really fascinating because it has to do with a character that showed up for a while in, I don't know if I would say legend, UFO legend, but I guess that would be kind of appropriate. But it was the experience of one or two people who claimed to have met him, but it's a man by the name of Indrid Cold. Cold. And it's a really bizarre kind of event. And it almost borders on a DMT experience. I don't know what else to say. It's so surreal when you read about what this person experienced. It's like, is that real? Is that really real? What did you eat before that? Because it's just so far out. But I mean, who am I to judge? I mean, all of the paranormal is kind of like a DMT experience, really. But let's learn about Indrid Cold from this article on ufoinsight.com. The article is dated September 25th of 2016. It was last updated September 2nd, 2020, and written by Marcus Louth, Lowth. And it's about 6 minutes long. So there's still a lot, more that I'll have to cover. And by all means, if you guys come up with more questions or anything, just please frame them with either by calling in or frame them with @Paranormal Portal, or just type Paranormal Portal as one word in the chat, and it should frame it in a big orange box for me. But try to wait till after I'm through the article. Okay, here's the article: Indrid Cold, alien or one of the men in black? Oh, that's an interesting take. While we have all probably heard of the Men in Black, most people will think of two comedic characters from a Hollywood blockbuster, or maybe a strange villain in a sci-fi B-movie. The fact is, though, that many people who have reported very real and in most cases very intimidating experiences with such people. One of the strangest and certainly one of the most chilling of these types of experiences occurred on a lonely road in America in the winter of 1966. Man, the 60s were really hopping, right? 67, the Patterson-Gimlin film. 66 was Indrid Cold. And I think Valiant Thor was from the 50s. So, I mean, there was a lot going on in these ages. Woodrow Derringer was a salesman for a typical sewing machine company of his era, and on 2nd of November, while making his way home to West Virginia from a business trip in Ohio, Derenberger's life would change forever. As he approached Parksburg, driving along Interstate 77, the salesman noticed a strange object behind him. He later told of his encounter to W2AP radio. As I came to Interstate 47, there was a car that passed me and overtaking me from behind. A car that passed me and overtaking me from behind. Oh, okay. Following closely behind this car, there was this unidentified object. As the car passed me, the object followed behind it and swerved directly in front of my truck, turning crossways. As it turned crossways, it slowed down, not abruptly or too fast, but it gave me plenty of time to step on my brakes and slow down with it. It forced me to come to a complete stop, and as soon as I stopped, a door opened in the side of the vehicle. In front of him stood a man with slick back dark hair, donning a black suit that appeared to be made from some kind of shiny material. His face was pale, and he didn't seem to have any facial hair to speak of. His mouth also appeared frozen in a strange, sinister grin. Following his exit from the craft, its doors slid shut, and it shot into the air, coming to a stop about 40 feet from the ground. After telling him not to be afraid, and that he would come to no harm, the mystery man asked Derenberger to wind down his window and introduced himself as Indrid Cold. The grinning man Indrid Cold. According to Derenberger, Cold had spoken to him telepathically. He seemed to take particular interest in the lights visible in the distance of the city of Parkersburg, so much so that he asked Derenberger what they were. Derenberger told him it was a city where many people went to work for different businesses. Cold stated in turn that they called his cities gatherings, and further asked if people lived in the city of Parkersburg. After Derenberger responded that most people lived outside of the city in small towns, Cold nodded before saying, "It's been nice talking to you, Mr. Derenberger. We will be seeing you again." That's creepy. With the strange man turned and walked away from the truck, his craft returning to ground level as he did so. He stepped aboard, and the mysterious object left with great speed. Derenberger continued to have visits from Indrid Cold following his initial encounter, many of which his wife and children also witnessed. Various stories of their encounter ran in UFO magazines and tabloid newspapers. According to the Derenbergers, Cold was part of a network of aliens from the planet Lanulos. They were active all over the country, and as well as being aliens, there were also time travelers from a fourth dimension. Over time, however, the constant media glare and interest took its toll on the family. Derenberger and his wife divorced, in part due to alleged affairs on his parts, and the claims began to die down. Check out the video below where Derenberger speaks about the initial encounter with Cold shortly after it happened in the aforementioned W2AP. I'm going to clip that link and put it in the chat as well, because I'm obviously not going to show these interviews, but I think that's really cool. I don't know whose website that is, or it's Mr. Bad Seed or something. 1976. He's got 137 followers, but he's got the actual interview on there. That's cool. Many people often linked Indrid Cold to the alleged Mothman sightings in and around Point Pleasant that began in the winter of 1966. Their close proximity to Derenberger's encounter and the sheer strangeness almost makes sense to do this. However, while Cold may have had a connection to the sightings of the winged creature, there might be an argument made that he was there to observe as opposed to actually being the Mothman itself. Some believe that Cold, right down to his menacing appearance and attire, may to be a part of the Men in Black. One strange encounter relayed to a UFO writer by a person using the name Larry also speaks of telepathic communication. According to Larry, one night he awoke to what seemed to be a presence in the room with him. This presence communicated with him telepathically, informing him that he was from another world. Before the conversation was over, the presence stated Larry would see it again, at a time when he would be with his best friend, who, according to Larry, the presence named. Months later, the incident now all but forgotten, Larry and his best friend were attending a picnic at a local park when Larry noticed a large van pull into the park. Memories of that night came flooding back, even more so when four men, all dressed in dark suits, with overly pale skin, got out of the vehicle. After settling around a park table, all four men turned to look at Larry and his friend, staring at him for several moments. They then simply got back into the dark van and drove away. Larry felt sure that these strange men, dressed all in black, were connected to the presence that he had spoken with in his mind months earlier. Larry stated that at least two of the men didn't look human, that their arms seemed out of proportion to their bodies somehow. Another article appeared on UFO Digest in late 2015 that appeared regarding an interview with a lady who claimed that her father met regularly with UFO researcher and writer George Adamski. Sorry. She also claimed that during these meetings, which took place around 1953-54, she met men in black on several occasions. She spoke in particular of one of these men in black named Lev, and what's more, it was common knowledge between her father and Adamski that Lev was an alien. His appearance, however, is the classic men in black look. Pale skin, no facial hair, and always dressed in a strange dark black suit. Oh yeah, this is something that I'd seen too. There's a video that is talking about. Maybe it's included. Yeah, it's actually included in the article. In Niagara Falls, Ontario, Canada, in May 2009, two strange and menacing individuals entered a hotel asking questions of one of the employees and the hotel manager. The people in question had recently reported a UFO sighting in the area and had made a report. Several months earlier, in late 2008, the pair reported seeing a triangular craft with a red light in the middle of it, hovering over the resort for around 10 minutes. Suddenly, a bright beam like a searchlight appeared from the object, eventually settling on the two men. Several days later, the hotel manager witnessed what he thought was the same craft heading in the same direction of their first encounter. As well as their demanding demeanor, these men in black also had strange appearance, with witnesses noticing how particularly pale both men were and how they appeared to be exactly the same height and build. Witnesses again reported that these curious characters had no facial hair whatsoever to speak of. One particular report stated that the men had hypnotic blue eyes that never blinked and generally acted very strangely. This last detail about the eyes left many experts in the field to state this encounter was different from typical Men in Black incident. You can check out the security video below and see what you think. Yeah, it is a curious one. Photograph leads to Men in Black visit in the UK. In 1964, Jim Templeton snapped one of the most famous photographs in recent history. He didn't realize the picture would be anything other than his daughter, Elizabeth, enjoying the Carlisle countryside until he had it developed. When he did, a strange figure stood in the distance behind Elizabeth. The figure, due to its appearance, became known as the Solway Spaceman. You can see a short video that the BBC Look North ran on Templeton and the photograph below. And there's the video. When confronted with the picture, both himself and his wife, Annie, stated that nobody else was present in the area. The picture quickly became famous, particularly when Kodak said that the picture was genuine and that if anyone could prove it was a fake, they would reward them considerably. The incident took a sinister turn, however, when two men dressed in dark suits visited the Templetons at home. Stating they worked for the government, they referred to each other as Number 9 and Number 11. They were interested in the photograph, and Templeton has stated since that they were very insistent and pushy with in their attitude. Jim Templeton even went as far to say that they were quite intimidating as they drove him to Berg Marsh, the site where he had photographed the strange figure. They apparently questioned him about seemingly random things, such as what the weather had been that day or if they had seen any strange animals around the area. Following this, the two men simply got in their car and drove away. Jim had to make his way back from the rural area alone and on foot. Oh, those jerks. They ditched him. The photograph itself has been closely studied over the years, and while no one has suggested that Templeton is a fraud or a hoaxer, many have put forward scientific explanations as to what caused the strange figure to be stood behind little Elizabeth Templeton that afternoon. In terms of the Men in Black, though, regardless of whether or not the photographs is of a spaceman or just an anomaly, it is somewhat strange that the two mysterious gentlemen felt the need to visit the Templetons shortly after the picture became public. This is the actual picture that they're referring to, and this, of course, is the weird spaceman that just kind of appeared. There's lots of ideas as to what this could be. Perhaps somebody facing away with, some kind of hat on or something. I don't know. It does look like a spacesuit, though. And it does look like a chest and not a back. But I don't know. It's anybody's guess, but that's the question, the photo in question. And they claim there was nobody behind their daughter. It was just an empty park. And they just took this picture, and there's this weird spaceman. So that's the photo in question, for those of you that may not know. Let's see. Below, you can check out a video that looks at 5 supposed real-life Men in Black encounters. The Men in Black to appear to be very real. Who or what they are, however, remains a mystery. So was Indrid Cold a Men in Black? I don't think so. Unless the Men in Black are indeed alien. And they could be. But here's the thing with Men in Black is the descriptions of Men in Black run the gambit from military-looking people, like just regular people that show up in this real, like, government issue kind of suit and are really just, like Dragnet, just about the facts, ma'am, just the facts. And sometimes intimidating, like, if you talk about this, we're going to lock you up and throw away the key kind of stuff. And then there's other accounts of people talking to the Men in Black or being confronted with them, where it has this surreal, almost extra-dimensional quality. Like they don't feel right, everything's weird, and then suddenly these figures appear, these Men in Black. Now, recently we read an article on Dan Aykroyd, and he talked about, not in the article, but he talked about an experience he had with what he believed to be the Men in Black, and it took place in New York City. And he was, in a nutshell, they were doing a show talking about UFOs and stuff and putting it together, and they were doing the pilot episodes. And as they were recording, he suddenly got a call. I think it had something to do with Britney Spears. I don't remember what the deal was, if they were just interviewing Britney Spears or were just going to or something. But they were just going to this interview, and they were outside the building, and he gets this weird call about how there's problems with the show and they're not sure what's going on and so whatever. And then he looks over and he sees this weird vehicle, and it looked like, I think, like a Lincoln, a black Lincoln, old Lincoln, one of the long old ones. And it was just kind of out of place there on the street in New York. And he saw that there were 2 like Men in Black looking characters with the typical fedora hats and the shades on, looking at him. And from that position, he said, suddenly, and he said it wouldn't be possible. And I'm paraphrasing this, so forgive me if I get it all wrong, but this is as I remember it. He said it couldn't have performed the maneuver that it did on that street with the traffic that day and the way things were going. But he said it just basically just whipped around and was gone. And it was like something out of the Twilight Zone, this whole experience. I'll try to find it for a future episode. Brent, some description of Men in Black say they are robotic. Yeah, that was the other one I was going to get to, is that there's other reports. Now, there's one in particular that I'm thinking of that we've covered on the show, is this gentleman was researching or had a sighting and was really looking into it and trying to dig into it. And he was visited by what he says is a Man in Black. As he's being confronted by this Man in Black, who he said looked like it was moving almost mechanically, had no eyebrows, basically like there wasn't hair on any of its body. It was very pale. And the eyes were almost, I don't know if it had glasses on or not, as I recall, but basically it was like it was running down on power, and it was like talking slower and slower. And then it said, "I must excuse myself." And in a very robotic way, it turned and left. And that was it. That was the last he saw of it. But there are those accounts. So they could be some form of mechanization or machination or whatever you would say. That's the thing with the Men in Black reports, is they just run this whole spectrum. So are they extraterrestrial? Are they artificial life themselves? Are they extra dimensional? What are they? Are they just government people that are just trying to hush this stuff up? Now, what's interesting is that, oddly enough, Men in Black reports seem very scarce nowadays. And I started thinking about it. Like, if I was a Man in Black, or if I was working for the Men in Black, whatever that means, in the old days, you could get away with threatening people and most people were like, oh, I don't want to get, thrown into a cell and throw away the key kind of thing. People would believe that. They would hush up. There was a real acquiescence to authority. And if someone showed up and exercised this extreme authority and they could screw up your life, yeah, you'd probably shut up. But nowadays, I often wonder, and this is just me, and it's way out there, so forgive me, but I almost wonder if some of these online trolls and people that take apart everything aren't like the new version of Men in Black. Like their whole mission is to find these things that may be legitimate and just bash them and make them look stupid. And so, because psychologically, people don't want to be weird, So if you come along and you're reading comments, or you see something, it's like, wow, that's really interesting. Is that real? And then you go to the comments and somebody's just tearing it apart. People are like, oh, never mind, I'm going to close this and move on. Because nobody wants to be a part of that team, of the weirdo team or whatever. Not here on the portal. We're all weirdos here. This is where you belong. But I think that, it's almost a psyop, the way that these internet trolls work. And it almost seems way too organized, It doesn't seem random. Now, there are definitely skeptics and people that do get a rise out of going around and just razzing people. That's just their thing. But I think that there might be an organized effort in some of this. And, tell me what you think. What's wrong with weird? Nothing's wrong with weird, of course, Maggie. We're the weirdos. That's what we do. But I think that's, that might be part of the game now, is that they just try to make people look stupid, or they try to diminish their character publicly, or expose the person that's bringing this out for something they may or may not have done. And that's where it gets real sketchy. Like, it seemed like everybody was a creep doing weird things for a while. Like, oh yeah, oh you're into that guy? Well, look at this, and look what we found on the hard drive. It's like, oh. And of course, you just back away carefully because you don't want to be in that club either. So I don't know. I don't know what you guys think of that. But that's me spitballing. I don't know. It just seems, that's a good point. Maybe they're just purely misinformation agents on the internet nowadays. Yeah, I think so. I think so, because there's such a tenacity to the attacks. It's not just one person going, oh, whatever. This is so fake, and then moving on. It's like they attack and they attack and they attack, and it just becomes this like the water's been chummed, and these people seem to come out of nowhere. And I think that it's probably true just in our internet culture for anything, but some of these efforts are really organized. I just really believe they are. It's just their way of controlling a narrative, maybe. And I don't mean to get conspiratorial, but it's just, basic psychology. Nobody wants to be on the losing team or to be a fool. Nobody wants to be a fool either. So if enough people come in and go, whatever, this is so fake. I can't even believe you. I can't get this time back. I just wasted this time. This 4 minutes of my life are just gone now. And it seems these were really ridiculous statements. Now, again, there's plenty of just skeptical people that have no problem voicing their skepticism. But I don't know if that makes sense or not, but let me know what you think. Cool, clean water. Spring water. It's from natural springs. So they say. But it's put in a plastic bottle, so I got that going for me. Rachel says, internet trolls commit the death of 1,000 cuts to hush witnesses who would have come out with stories or photos. Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, here's the thing. I have personally seen amazing trail cam photos of Sasquatch. I have personally seen this, but the people that took them will not come forward with it. They will not enter that fray. And I can't blame them, because when people are against something, they don't just attack the person anymore. They attack the family. They attack the children. They attack your livelihood. They attack where you work. I mean, they're tenacious in their attacks. And that's what I mean by it just being this orchestrated, assassination of a character. And character assassination, I should say. I don't mean a literal assassination, but it's just they attack tenaciously. Now, I literally, my jaw hit the floor when I saw this picture. I was just like, that's it. I mean, that's got to be the real thing. The pose, the way that it was moving, I just couldn't believe for a million years that was a person. And the person says, yeah, I've got this. I will not go public, though. I will not put this out there. And that's what we're missing, folks, because of that culture. So here's the thing. I've always made it my mission whenever I can. Whenever somebody is on a message board like that and I see it and I have the time, but I always try to challenge it. I'm like, people say, oh, this is so stupid. This is the fakest thing I've ever seen. And I'll address them. I'll say, cool. Well, can you tell me what you're seeing? What is it that you're seeing that's making you reach that conclusion? Because I really want to know. Here's the two things. Either they're going to teach me something that I didn't see and help me understand better so that I can become a better observer of these things, or I'm going to find out that they're full of garbage. And often 99% of the time, those same people will not respond. They won't say what it is that's fake. But I like to challenge it because I think that that's the only thing that might bring sanity to it. Bob Lazar talks about how his life was destroyed from people harassing him and trying to destroy his reputation. That's why he avoids interviews. Yeah, and who can blame him? I mean, really. Now, I don't know. Here's the thing. Only one person knows, well, maybe more people, but one person knows that Bob Lazar is telling the truth, and that's Bob Lazar. But if what he says makes sense and the narrative makes sense, then it's possible. It's like me sharing my UFO story. You guys may believe me, but you may not. But there's only one person that knows it's real beyond a shadow of a doubt, and that's me. If I could have hit record, if the binoculars that I was using had some kind of record function, I would be sitting on the Patterson-Gimlin UFO film of the century. I mean, it was just that incredible. It was just right there, floating above that tree. But it can only be a personal experience. Now, I can share that to you. There's many of you out there that choose to believe me, and that's wonderful. I'm glad, because I stand to gain nothing by telling you I saw a UFO. I mean, I'm not making any money on the fact that I saw a UFO. It's just something that I've seen. But it was a personal quest of mine, and I observed it. So that was a great turning point in my life. But I can't make anybody believe that. I only know that it's true. But I think that you basically got to judge the person sharing it as best you can. And it's I don't. I'm not encouraging judgment, so to speak, but I mean, you got to judge it for yourself. Is it real or is it not? And if it's not, just walk away. But some people are so bent on destroying those people, and that's what I think is just really tragic. Thank you, Titan. Brent, thanks for all you do. Y'all have a great time this weekend. We wish you could join the festivities. Blessings. Well, Titan, I appreciate it, brother. And please, I don't know if you got to leave now or what's going on, or are we running late? God, we are running late. Which is fine. I don't care. But watch our YouTube channel, ladies and gentlemen. Watch our YouTube channel, because I will be streaming, intermittently throughout both days and bringing the event to you as best I can. I obviously can't stream the speakers because they're already doing that, and I wouldn't want to, step on anybody's toes. But of course, Don and I will, be interjecting afterwards and be like, hey, that was a great talk. And, what did you take away from that? Whatever. We'll do as much as we can to bring you into the experience as possible. And, special thanks, of course, to the organizers, Bill Bassan and the whole town of Madeleine Falls. And of course, Stephen Majors and Extreme Expeditions Northwest LLC and Bigfoot Today, of course. Those are all the organizers that are involved, and we are just really honored to be a part of it. So, but we'll do everything we can to bring, I know it did go quick, didn't it? We'll do everything we can to bring as much of the event to you as we can. and we'll go observe everything as possible, and we'll record. If we can't stream it due to any kind of bandwidth, we'll take videos, we'll upload them as soon as we can so that you guys can at least experience what you can. We'll try to make the experience as accessible as we are able to. So, and that includes meeting and greeting people like Bob Gimlin. You know, I'd love to chat with him for a few minutes if that becomes possible. Obviously I don't want to pressure the guy. He's obviously going to be up to his neck in people wanting to shake his hand and talk to him and get photos, but hopefully we'll get a couple minutes with him if that's possible. And with Russ Accord and with Ken Gerhard and so many others, it's just going to be an awesome experience. So we will have fun. Thank you, Asset. I appreciate that. Yeah, and just keep an eye. If you're not subscribed and haven't rung the bell, please do so. That way you'll know when we go live. I may or may not be able to announce it much ahead of time. It's like, hey, we're going to stream. But just keep watching for the streams to launch. I'm sure Don will put out notices on the Facebook and stuff as they become available. So ring the bell, get subscribed, and follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/Paranormal Portal Radio. And we'll keep doing everything we can to make you guys a part of it. Thank you, Geo. Or G. Thank you, G. Samesies. I'll be there in spirit. Well, that's awesome. Great. And we hope you're all with us. I mean, we're going to bring you all with us as much as we can. Thanks so much for the show tonight. With all that you have going on, have fun. Thank you, Maggie. I appreciate it. We love you all, and we'll do our best to make it as big of an event here on our YouTube channel as we can. Excuse me. So I got to get packing. I've got stuff laying everywhere, so I got to get everything organized and pulled together and try to get some sleep tonight. So just remember, love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other, help each other out, find the magic in every day, and remember to laugh as much as you can. All right, guys, good night. And there will be no regular streams Friday, Saturday, and maybe not Sunday. I'm not sure when we're getting back on Sunday, but we'll get back get back to the schedule as soon as we can. So probably the next live stream is going to be on Wednesday, the regular show live stream, not the event live streams, because they're going to be happening all throughout the days. So, all right, guys, that's all for us. Take care, be good, and we'll talk to you soon. Sweet dreams.